Welcome back to the London Free Press Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Barnett. Once again, another very busy week happening in London, surrounding areas, and the world. It never seems to stop. Tons of great news stories for you over at lfpress.com and, of course, in the pages of the London Free Press. This week, I am once again joined by London Free Press health reporter Jennifer Beeman. Jen, how you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining the show. I know you have been busy, so I want to start off by saying, are you breathing a little easier? Because we are officially allowed to legally leave our homes. The lockdown has ended, but there's still a lot of things we can't do. Like, not really anything has changed except you can leave your house freely.
Yes. So I think people don't necessarily understand just how heavy-handed and restrictive the stay-home order was, but we can freely leave our homes now, which is excellent. I don't know where you're going to go or what you're going to do, but you can go and hang out. But we still got retail restrictions, dining restrictions, all kinds of other things. So, I mean, yes, the stay home order is done, but what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
Totally true. I will say the one good thing that we can do safely now is socialize outside, 5 people maximum, socially distanced, of course. So that is allowed. June 14th, obviously still a big date looming where some non-essential retail is going to reopen. Bars and restaurants, I think, are going to open for outdoor patio dining. So there is that date to look forward to. But we also had another bomb dropped on us with regards to fast tracking second doses. So this happened late last week. Again, it's always like the pre-weekend scramble. It was announced that people were going to be able to get their second doses quicker, but then there was a huge but. So let's talk about the announcement first of all, and then what's going on here locally, because we are in the asterisks of the but.
So it was super exciting for Queen's Park to announce this second doses for everyone. It was glossy and exciting and it made everyone feel good. Except for, like you said, the big caveat, not here yet. So we don't have supply. We have so many people looking for first doses. We've got 12 to 17-year-olds in the 18-year-old age group, which only just opened up a couple weeks back. And we're in an area where our supply through parts of April and May was being diverted to hotspots in Toronto and Peel to vaccinate those people. Good move, solid move. Those people needed it. They were going to hospitals. We were taking on their hospital patients. Those needed to be targeted, but we haven't caught up on that yet. So, as you see, if you ever flip on the news, you see it's a bonanza of second dose bookings in Ottawa and Toronto, and everyone's really excited. It's not happening here yet. It won't happen probably until next week. And even then, we're only looking at the 80+ crowd. The province had given a timeline that they want, regions to stick to for expanding second dose eligibility to different age groups. It would go down to 70 at some point. But for your general public, it's into July when you might be able to book again. And even if you are you going to get an appointment within much sooner than your other second appointment would have been? It's really a whole thing. So, it's exciting. It's good that they're focusing on that, but locally we need vaccines. We're 20,000. Our health unit estimates we have a 20,000 dose catch up that we need to make. And we haven't done it yet. The province hasn't given us the doses we need.
Well, I think part of the fear is that this is going to turn into kind of like a Hunger Games of second doses. It's scary, and everybody is just so at their wits' end, because I feel like you get the first shot and you're like, oh my God, okay. Like I got my first shot right away. Before I even got the needle in my arm, they handed me a ticket. Here's your second appointment. And all of a sudden you're like, it's happening. Like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And then you see other regions outside of London and Middlesex ramping things up. And I'm just like, why are we the forgotten children once again? Dr. Chris Mackey, got to touch on him though, because he's been pretty vocal about his frustrations with regards to the province and lack of dosages in this region. And we just even opened another vaccine clinic because initially the province had said, if you can show us that you can accommodate, then we will give you more. But then it's been kind of crickets. So what is Dr. Chris Mackey saying at this point about the shortage?
So, we're doing about 3,000 to 3,500 shots a day in London at our 4 sites, London and Middlesex County. We can do 7,000 at those sites. We don't have the supply to do it, but it has space for 7,000. Our medical officer of health, Dr. Mackey, has actually been pretty, their job is to, kind of implement the province's directives, and that's what they've been dutifully doing this time. But this has been a bit of a rare break lately where they're saying, listen, like, these plans are fine and good, province, but you need to give us supply. And so he's been very calmly saying, listen, this is what we need. He's been pushing for just more doses here. There's so much demand for shots. The health unit's booking well into June, mid to late June, for first dose appointments. Pharmacies are coming online around here with Pfizer and Moderna, which is excellent. But again, that's not as big of a channel as a mass vaccination site. So, even Mayor Holder here has been really pushing the province for, we've got the capacity, we've got the demand, just please give us the doses. So I would hope in the next couple of weeks, with the amounts that the province is getting, that we could see increases. But again, we're playing catch up. For weeks and weeks in April and May, we were kind of frozen at a certain level because they were targeting other areas. So we just need to catch up on that. And then we should be in a better place for second doses, for more people for first doses.
You're more tuned in than I am, but there was a lot of confusion. I know with me when I was going through things with a fine tooth comb, it was like, so we had the age increments, and then we had you're eligible if you have certain health conditions. And then all of a sudden it was like all workers. And then I feel like I blinked and it was like anybody 12 plus can get it. Is there still a shortage? Like, I know Canada, we're not producing the vaccines here. We've been getting some from the United States. I know there's a shortage here locally, but like, it seems like I read yesterday that 2.6 million doses were arriving in Canada this week. So is there still the supply shortage nationwide, not just here locally?
We're really getting into a good moment right now in Canada where we are getting millions and millions of doses a week, 40 million doses by the end of whatever. And so, in our first quarter, it was really dull. I don't know if you remember much about March or February or January. I try to block that from my mind. It was dark. It was dismal. We had no doses. It was very bad. But hey, things are better now. They're coming in, they're flying out the doors. We're administering more than 100,000, 150,000 vaccine doses a day in Ontario. So there's the supply coming in. It's just, we need to be compensated for the hotspot strategy in April and May, and just be really given our fair share. We're about 3% of Ontario's population. So we should be getting about 3% of Ontario's doses if that's the way that they're doing it. The second dose thing is complicating factors as well, because if we really got a big push in April and May, those people are coming up soon. So that can kind of take away some of your available appointments because you have to fulfill those second dose shots. So, we're in a good place. The goal is 2 doses by September. I believe there's a supply to do it. It's just, it needs to be more equal. It's brutal for us in London because we're a big enough center. We've got some clout, and I can only imagine how difficult this could be for even smaller centers or rural centers that just aren't getting their share. Like, we have the ability to stand up and be like, give us doses, but if you're in rural Ontario, that might not be the same. So I hope that there's really a refocusing here.
Always the optimist, Jen. I love it. It's interesting that you say like the goal is, and I had heard this province-wide by September, 2 doses. I got my first shot middle of May. I was booked for the beginning of September for my second dose. Now, I'm going to be cautious. I did see a tweet, and I don't know who this woman was, and I'm probably going to put you on the spot a little bit. She was able to take her 16-year-old to get his first shot. He works in a grocery store, absolutely needed. And then she said, I feel so grateful. Second shot already booked, 56 days. So I start doing the math, and not to sound jealous, but I'm going to. I start doing the math and I'm like, wait a second. So he got his shot after me and he's going to have his second dose way before me. Is this what's actually happening? Is that factual? Do you know anything about that with regards to school age kids?
So in the London area, that is happening. If you're a high school student, if you're in that 12 to 17 age group and you're going back to school in September, the health unit here has shortened your interval. Which I don't think they're going rogue. I think that was part of the province's thing of, we want kids vaccinated. Like that's, I don't think they're just being like, haha, making it up on the spot in London. I think that it was, part of a bigger discussion. It's tough and you kind of could feel jealous, and it would be understandable because, you want your second dose as soon as possible. We all do. I'm not sure if that will have to change. We have 80-year-olds here who are more vulnerable to disease and death and severe outcomes from COVID, who aren't getting their second shot earlier, who will have to wait to the 4 months or very close to it. And I think that's the other thing is, if you got your vaccine early, like maybe April or May, when you're able to rebook your second shot earlier, when the province allows this, you might not be getting in much earlier, maybe a couple of weeks if you're lucky. And I think that's kind of Londoners just in general. If you have already received your shot in April or May, manage your expectations a little. I mean, the way that I would see the second dose rollout really shortening for people is if they're getting their shots in June, July, because then they would probably see their second shots, maybe crunched down a little bit, like to a lesser time frame.
I love that. Something I do want to touch on, Dr. Chris Mackey has said he hopes by June 7th, those 80 plus will be able to start rebooking their appointments, their second appointments. Keyword there, rebooking. So you are on the hook to reach out to the health unit to do that. Otherwise, like, they will not be reaching out to you for your second dose. If you've already been given a date, which you should have, that's the date they expect to see you unless you call. And I do believe it's going to be phone call only. Is that right, Jen? Do you know?
So luckily for people, they're working on a workaround so that it's not phone call only. You're right about the first round, though. When healthcare workers were allowed to bump up their shots, this was only a couple of weeks ago, this was allowed. The only option in the London area was giving the phone line a call, and that thing has just been a chronic thing. I mean, it's a phone line, like it's 2021 and phone lines get crowded with people. It was a whole mess. It's been a mess the whole time. Health unit is working on an online rebooking system. They'll have it up and running. So that will be how you do it. The one sort of fly in the ointment would be if a person decided, well, I'm going to go find another vaccine at a pharmacy. And book an appointment at a pharmacy, they'd need to make sure they cancel their second shot at the assessment center. So that'll be part of the messaging you'll be seeing is, rebook at the same assessment center you went to, or if you find one elsewhere, make sure you cancel. But again, I guess we'll have to see how this sort of works out. They're still developing this online ability for the 80 plus crowd, and then it'll roll to the 70 plus crowd, and then kind of some age or date ranges moving forward.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't even think about the pharmacies that are going to be administering Pfizer or Moderna, depending on what your first shot was, and maybe bypassing a line like that. It is going to be like the Hunger Games. I was right in saying that.
Well, and it's tough.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. It's tough because, you want second doses to go to the people that need them the most, the people that are most at risk. And a lot of this rollout has sort of been shots for the savviest. And, the people that are able to have the connections to get their granddaughter to go and book them an appointment or things. So, I mean, I really hope the second dose thing rolls out well. The good news for people is if they don't want to rebook, they've still got their second shot appointment. It's only if you want to. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a better fall, and hopefully this will all just be a distant memory come October.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. You are nothing but a wealth of knowledge. So tuned in with what's going on in the community with regards to COVID and the vaccine. So thank you so much for your time, Jen. I really appreciate it. And hopefully by the next time we're talking, it's like the floodgates have opened. We've just got a plethora of vaccines. That would be really, really nice. Just a reminder, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, subscribe. We are on all of the podcast platforms: Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, of course, over at lfpress.com, you name it. We are there. Tons of stories, like I said, going on over at lfpress.com and in the pages of the London Free Press. We will be back again next week with another edition of the London Free Press podcast. Until then, stay well.